Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper, and today I've got a card for you using the one of the new stamp sets from the catalogue from the beginning of the year, and it's called Sunset Coast. I'm just going to see if this catalogue only went live on the 5th of May, I think it was. Just going to see if I can find it to show you where it is. They've very slightly changed how they do things now in the index. Right, so page 58 will show you the dies which are there, and they've listed them separately, so I need stamp sets. So dies for some reason get listed first. Not sure I like how they've changed this. Stamp sets come down after punches, which I'm not sure I like that. Page 55. So the catalogue is a lot thinner than the annual catalogue. So the annual catalogue is no more. And we're going to have 3 catalogues that will go throughout the year. So this one is May to August, and then there will be an August to December, I'm guessing, and then a January to May. Okay, so this shows you the stamp set here. Oh, yeah, there we are, Sunset Coast, and it is a suite, so I should be able to find it. Here we go. Scenic Coast, they've called the suite, because in the suite you get the stamp set, the dies, the papers, some accent sequins, and some shimmer vellum as well. I don't know if you can see that there. So that's the whole suite. I've got the stamp set, the dies, and the papers. Okay, so let's put that out of the way, and it gives you some ideas of things to do with it. So these are the stamps. Some nice sentiments. You've got happy anniversary, happy retirement. We don't very often have that one, so it's great to see that. Congratulations. And then you've got wherever this note finds you, I hope it finds you happy. The adventure continues. You brighten my day. Wishing you a lifetime of joy. And then you've got a few images here. So you've got a rock formation with a door, which I'm in the UK, and in Dorset we have a place called Durdle's Door, which is a holiday favourite place for our family, and that looks very much like Durdle's Door, but I know that they do occur in other places as well. You've got 2 little boats, you've got some clouds, some water, and a moon, and or could be a sun, and some sort of images for the sky. And then these are the dies. So you have 1, 2, 3 that are sort of the bigger image dies. So this one with the boat and this one with the lighthouse, hopefully you can see that there, they don't cut the entirety out. So you can see here the cutting edge, hopefully you can see that, is on the outside. So that means that we'll cut that bit out, but there's no cutting edge round here, or only this wave round here. So they don't cut the whole thing out. I haven't got a scrap to show you. This one, however, does, because this does have a cutting edge all the way around, so that will cut out. It's not really a circle, it's more of a squashed circle. It's not an oval, it's not really a circle. So yeah, so I have discovered that the largest circle from the retired layering circles dies, and I'm sure there probably are newer circle dies available now through Stampin' Up. But if I've got something, I don't tend to replace it just for the sake of it. But I did work out, these cut on the inside, and I did work out you could use it to cut around the lighthouse. It's not quite as even on the boat, but it will give you a full circle if that's what you need. Okay, I'll be using those in another video to show you how that works. Okay, and then you've got a few extra dies. You've got the 2 little boats, clouds, that little rock formation, and sort of a piece of fishing net, a little fence, which is quite cute, a circle for the moon or the sun, whichever you're using it as, and then some little seagulls and some shells, which are quite nice. So let's move those out of the way and I'll show you the card. So I've made a pop-up card. Oh, just before I do show you the inside of that card, excuse me, my desk is covered in bits. I just wanted to show you the papers. So they're 6x6 papers. You get 48 sheets and there are 6 designs, I think. So yeah, 6 sixes are 48, aren't they? So you get this one, which has that on the back. I don't know if my camera's going to pick it up. I don't think it will, but there's almost, hopefully you can see that shimmer on there. Each one of these on the sort of scenic side has got some shimmer to it. So that's one. This is one of the other patterns. 2, and you get this one. 3, this one, that's got a huge amount of shimmer on there. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. 3, and then there's this one. 4, this one. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 6. I can add up. I haven't forgotten my times tables. Anyway, so 6, and then on the backs you've got this sort of purple, almost sea with foam. What's on the back of this one? Blue with sort of foam. This one's sort of a painterly effect on the back there. This one has got, oops, sorry, I've used some of these, so there's not as many of some. This one's got a sort of a waves again on the back. This one's got another sort of painterly effect. Sorry if I've already shown you that one. This one's got that sort of, could use that for sand actually. That would work quite well as beach. And this one, which has got that painterly effect on again. So 48 sheets of 6x6. I always think the 6x6 packs are quite good value, especially if you're making multiple cards or you're using them in a class, because you get a lot of each sheet. So those are the papers. Right, now back to the card. So this is the front of the card and this is the inside of the card. So I've made it as a pop-up. Quite nice and simple to make. It's not too complicated. I just realised that piece of TSP is on the wonk, but you'll forgive me for that, I'm sure, and it goes over the edge. Never mind. Okay, and then I've just put a white panel in here. I've just inked it a little bit round the edges just to take off of it being quite so white. So I will show you the colours that are in those papers. So we have got Balmy Blue, Highland Heather, Gorgeous Grape, and Blueberry Bushel, Crushed Curry, and Strawberry Slush. So that's sort of for the pinkier sunset, and that's that Crushed Curry is that one that I said you could use as sand. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colours in those papers and sort of variations of. So this is our card again. So that's the front, that's the inside, and that's for you to write on. So let me show you how I put that together. There is quite a lot of cardstock on it, but it's really not that difficult to put together. So I'm going to start by inking the inside of the card, and I'm just bringing in a piece of scrap paper here, and I did that with Balmy Blue because that's one of the colours we're using obviously in those papers. So I'm just literally going around the edge just to take off that harshness of that white edge. So start off your cardstock and sort of come into the corners, and remember, the more ink you add, the darker it will get. So it's not an exact science, it's personal preference. So I got quite a lot of dark ink at that corner, so I'm going to go a little bit harder along here. Sorry if you can hear things rattling about in my craft room. The window's got up, it's blowing the curtains and knocking things over. Okay, so that's that. So that's our inside. Okay, so I'm going to start by sticking that into our card base. So that's one piece out of the way. Let's get rid of that. Okay, So this is just a piece of basic white, and it's cut at 10 by 14.3. So that sits inside a C6 card base, which is the size we use in the UK, and I believe they use the same size in Australia. If you are in, not sure about Canada actually, if you're in America, obviously use whichever size works best for you. So this is half of an A4 sheet, cut down the length of the sheet at 10.5 centimetres, and it's 14.8 centimetres across or high, because this is going to be an up and down. So it's going to be a 10 fold. Okay, so that's our inside done. Now we can move on to some of the bits and pieces that I've got here, because there are quite a lot of them. Okay, so what I've done, I've got my 6x6 sheet of designer series paper, and I've cut it down. Let's put this on first. So this is the matte layer. This is in Azure Afternoon, which isn't one of the colours in the paper, but it coordinates quite nicely. And if you're not sure what colours to put together, the colour coach is a good idea. So I've gone on to Blueberry Bushel, which is here, which is our base card, and looked at the other colours that coordinate with those. And Azure Afternoon is quite nicely, if I bring in the triadic. So analogous means that all of those colours will go together. Triadic, those three, try for three obviously, they're the closest matches. And then you get complementary again, so Blueberry Bushel, Misty Moonlight, or Azure Afternoon, or you could go Night of Navy, Blueberry Bushel, Misty Moonlight. And then you've got monochromatic, so we've got Blueberry Bushel, which is our base in there, so we could have Night of Navy, any of those, Azure Afternoon, they'd all sort of go. Yeah, so I went to the complementary side and lined it up with Blueberry Bushel, which is my main colour, and Azure Afternoon is on the complementary, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, it's handy sometimes if you're not sure what colours complement each other, to use the colour wheel, and it can sometimes throw up some really unusual colour choices as well, which personally I would never have thought of putting together. So for instance, let's go on the, you know, I wouldn't necessarily put Cherry Cobbler with Blueberry Bushel, but they are all sort of in that same analogous spectrum. So it can give you some quite unusual, for instance here with the greens, we've got soft sea foam right round to crushed curry. So it can encourage you to step out of your comfort zone. So I've got one matte layer here, as I said before, this is Azure Afternoon, and it's 10 by 14.3. And then I have another one of those, and that's going to go inside. So we're putting one on the front and one on the inside top. Sorry, I'm trying to not waffle on too much, but give you the information. Now, what we need to do is make sure that that is lined up along the sides with the white layer underneath, or it will notice like a sore thumb. So, excuse me while I fiddle. I'm using wet glue because it gives me a bit of wiggle room if you don't press it down until you're sure it's where you want it. Right, so that's that there. Okay, so I'm bringing back in our DSP plus a couple of other bits. Okay, so we've got our DSP. So this was the original, that way, this was the original 6x6. So I've cut this down, and this now measures 9.5 by 13.8. So that piece is going to go on the inside of our card. So let's just stick that piece in. I'm sorry for anybody if that was a bit like fingernails down a blackboard. I'm working on a glass mat, so you can't really avoid a noise. Okay, so that piece is going to go in there, lined up there. Is it lined up? is now. Okay, and then on the front, we're going to use this scrap piece because, you know, why would you not? It's really lovely paper. Why would you not use it? So what I've done is I've cut a piece of Azure, no, not Azure Afternoon, Blueberry Bushel, which is what our base is. And we're going to use this piece on the front of our card there. And I'm just going to cut this down. So this is automatically the width that it was after I trimmed it off the 6x6. And that comes in at just very shy of 6 centimetres. So this piece of cardstock is 7 actually, and I don't want it at 7, I want it at 6.5. So I'm just going to bring my trimmer in. So I'm just going to trim this down to 6.5, and then I need to trim my paper down. So I've cut this piece of cardstock so they all layer up nicely with the 0.5 centimetre. So this is at 13.8, so I need to cut this down to 13.3. I'm just going to slice that bit off the bottom there. I'll get rid of that piece. And then this will layer up nicely on here. So let's just stick that down. I did warn you at the beginning, this was quite a card heavy card. I mean, this is not the kind of card you send out in the post willy-nilly. This is the kind of card you give to a special person. And this is quite probably going to be my dad's birthday card. Or possibly even his Father's Day card, we'll see. Birthday card, I'm thinking, but not till September. But anyway, I'll have it ready to go. Okay, now ordinarily, I would probably pop this up on dimensionals. But we've got a lot of layer in this card already, and we're going to put a pop-up in. So I'm not going to use dimensionals. I'm going to stick it on. Be careful with your glue. Don't go too close to the edges when you're doing smaller pieces like this. I'm just going to bring that in slightly like that. So we've got a gap top and bottom and left and right. Okay, so that's that piece there. Then we need to make our pop-up mechanism. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to finish off the front. So I've used this net here, and on this one I've actually put glue on it and I've stuck it down because I was a bit silly. And then I remembered I had some of this stuff, double-sided adhesive. This is actually a Scenic one. Stampin' Up do sell it, but I already had some of the Scenic one. So you basically peel one side off. It says peel here. You peel one side off, you stick it to your cardstock, you die cut it, and then once you've die cut it, you can then peel off the backing like that, and you have a sticker. So I'm going to pop that on there because it'll be easier to finish this piece flat. Oh my goodness me, I'm covered in glue. Be easier to finish this piece flat on there before we put the pop-up in. So this is our piece for our pop-up, and you can see that this is 10.5 by 9.5 centimetres. So make sure you're using the right edge where you want to score along the longer edge. Okay, so this has been cut at 9.5 to fit in the middle of our card nicely. So for this we're scoring, not cutting, and we are going to score at 2.5 centimetres, 5 centimetres, 7.5 centimetres, and 10 centimetres. Okay, then we are going to fold. I'll leave that there in case anybody, there would help, in case anybody wants to write down the measurements for the column for the pop-up mechanism. So we're going to score all of those, or burnish, sorry, we've already scored. We're going to burnish all of those creases, and this last one is this little one which will enable us to put it together. Okay, now I can hear those of you telling me that's a tiny little piece to try and adhere this together. It is a tiny little piece, But I'm going to be honest with you, I already had these scraps in my packet of blueberry bushel. So if you wish to make this a little bit longer, you could cut it at 11 rather than 10.5. It just so happens that that was the size I had in my scrap, and I like to use my scrap up. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, these pop-up mechanisms are going to get folded backwards and forwards quite a lot, so they need a strong adhesive. So I am using some red liner tape, which just so happens to fit perfectly on there. Just using my silicone scissors because this stuff's sticky. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to use the point of my scissors just to get underneath the actual red piece and pull that up. And then the easiest way to make sure this is stuck correctly is to fold in. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and our joiner. So fold up the fourth part and fold down the first top part, and that will then give us our column, which is going to be our pop-up. Now, I've done this kind of card in my classes before, and a lot of my ladies get in a right muddle with where they've got to put their tape. So this is a top tip. Grab yourself a pencil. Now, ideally, we want this join at the back where we're not going to see it. So the ideal way to work out where to put your tape is to offer it up against your card, which is what I'm doing. Then fold it flat, and we know that this section here needs adhesive, whatever you choose to use. Okay, so that piece is going to stick to the back of the card like so. Then we know we need to stick this piece to the bottom of the card, so I'm just going to put some score lines on there. So now we know where our adhesive is going. It's going to glue at the bottom there, and it's going to glue at the back there. So we can take it out of our card, fold it flat, and we're not going to get in a pickle with where the adhesive has got to go. Now, you can use wet glue. I prefer to use tear and tape for this kind of thing because there's no waiting time needed. So I'm going to put 2 strips of tear and tape on the back here, and another 2. Now I've overshot the edge there, I'll deal with that in a minute. Another 2 on this bottom piece here. So now we know we've got our tear and tape in the right place. Okay, so just going to deal with that bit that's sticking over the edge because I do not want that sticking up. Sticking out, I should say. Okay, so I'm just going to take that. So be careful you don't overshoot the edges. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, and this is why silicone scissors are very useful. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to stick it to the base of the card. So I'm going to take these backings off first, and I always find it's easier if I use the point of a sharp pair of scissors just to lift those up. And then we're going to open up our card again, and this needs to be level, don't forget, level with the crease, but we also need this section uppermost because that's going to stick at the back. No, I've done this all wrong. Ignore me. Why is it whenever I'm filming, I make a right mess? Okay, so we don't want it to stick like that. We need it to stick like that. Okay, so I've got the sticky side down, and we are going to line that up with the Designer Series paper and the just slightly below the crease of the card. Don't put it on the crease, otherwise your card won't fold. Okay, so we now have that there, and you can see that that is going to go up there. So I'm going to take off the backings off this other set of tape, and then to make sure, oh, I've got red nail polish on and it's going everywhere. To make sure that you are going to get this to fold flat, the easiest way is to actually do that. So fold your card down, turn it over and give it a good rub. And then when you open it up, you've got your column where it needs to be. Okay, we're almost there. So we've done the front. Don't do that because I've just pushed that in and that is not helpful. So we are going to put, on this one I had the lighthouse on there. So on this next one I'm going to use the boat. So again, it comes in a circle. This was a bit of a reject because it slipped too low and we ended up with a piece of the paper off the dies on it. So what I've done is I've snipped it here and here at the moment, and I haven't curved these undersides. So that's going to go on there, but waste not, want not. With our last piece of scrap DSP, we had a piece left from where we cut down this main panel, which has got a little bit of the C left on it, and it's also got this other side with the C on it. So I'm going to stick that on there. Now it's just slightly too big, slightly too wide. It'll literally be millimeters over. Yeah, it is literally millimeters over 9.5, which is what we cut the DSP down to. I don't think that's even going to work to take the edge off, so I'll just have to be careful when I glue it on. So you could use the back side, which has got this sort of foamy wave stuff on, but this bit's got quite a lot of shimmer on, so I'm going to use that side. And again, I'm going to use wet glue, and we're going to use this to sort of offset our boat, if you like, a little bit. So you could cut a whole piece of DSP that would fit on there, but I like to not waste bits and pieces. So we are going to slide that over. It's very slightly wider, not a lot. Okay, make sure you've got it level, which is why wet glue is good. And then we're going to use that piece to offset our boat, which is going to go up like that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. Now I've got to be honest, I was tempted to round the corners off on this, but I know that I will make a dog's dinner of it trying to get it even, so I figured it was probably better just to go with the flow. But you could put it in a round die and cut those bits off, but I'm happy with it like that, even if it is a slight angle. Okay, now I haven't put a greeting in the card because I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to use this yet for a birthday card or for my dad's Father's Day card, because he used to sail. So I'm going to leave it like that for now, but obviously you've got plenty of room there to either just write or to stamp a greeting, or equally you could use something like that and a piece of as your afternoon to stamp a greeting on. I mean, if you ink over further you'll get more of a contrast, but I might do that and then stamp a greeting on some white to go underneath like that. But I will fiddle with those bits, but it's entirely your choice. So let me bring in the other card. So these are our fronts. Oh, I've just missed one thing. I thought it needed a little bit of bling, and I remembered ages and ages ago we had these little sea glass elements. They aren't easy to pick up, I'm not going to lie, and this is where I wish my putty hadn't run out. But anyway, I've just popped some there. They come in 3 colours, or came in 3 colours. They're not available, but I'm on a bit of a mission in 2026 to use up bits and pieces that I've got lurking. And believe it or not, I'd actually got a pack and a half of these. I think I must have thought, oh, I'm going to use those loads, and bought 2 packs. And then I haven't used them loads, so I am going to use them up now. So I've put 3 on the front there, and we are just going to go with some inside as well. So they seem to be different, slightly different sizes. I'm sure that these went, well, I know that they went with another sort of beachy stamp set that we had, which had some sort of beachy grasses and things in it. So I think these will actually work quite well with the paper pumpkin as well, which has sort of pebbles in it. But I almost prefer these. So I'm sorry if you like them and you can't purchase them, but as I said, this is part of my use up odds and bits and pieces that I've got, because I've got so much stuff. Okay, so I'm going to slide those in there because I might use those later. So here we go. So there's our 2 cards. I hope you like them, and I hope you'll give this pop-up technique a try. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Happy stamping!